Let's talk a little Alabama recruiting this weekend. A-Day, which means top recruits will be on campus. We got Andrew Bone here with Bama Online. But first, Andrew, I want to talk a little quarterback recruiting. Who is on the board right now, and is Alabama closing in on a commitment?
Yeah, there's not many guys that Alabama's recruiting at the quarterback position, and the ones that they have recruited over the last 7 or 8 months are all committed elsewhere. They were committed elsewhere when they extended those offers. So as of right now, Alabama is going after Derek Zammit out of New Jersey. DePaul Catholic, this kid they offered mid-February. He's going to be making his first trip to Alabama this weekend. Arrives on Friday. He's going to stay in town until Sunday morning. So this is going to be a big visit for him, big visit for Alabama to kind of see where they stand. And he's going to make a decision in the next couple weeks. Not really wanting to go through the summer official visit gauntlet. Wants to decide before the officials start and just take one visit this summer. So we'll see kind of how things shape out this weekend. I spoke to him the other night. We got a great story, preview story about his trip to Alabama on BOL. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because this is really the only guy that Alabama, in my opinion, as of right now, has a potential chance to land. Now, if they miss out on him, he ends up going somewhere else. They're going to have to kind of regroup and circle the wagons and kind of see who's going to be out there this spring that's available, who they might go after. And they did that last year with Keelan Russell. They went out and saw Keelan during the spring, and he didn't get an offer from Alabama until after the A-Day game last year. So they might have to do that again this year, but we'll see what happens with Derek Zammit this weekend.
Yeah, and having a guy like Keelan Russell already on campus kind of allows them to have a little more patience this cycle at the quarterback position. I like it. All right, let's move on and talk some A-Day visitors. You guys have a huge list up on Bama Online. You fans can go check that out right now. But one name stuck out to me, that's Jett Washington. He's going to be on campus in Tuscaloosa. He's a top safety target out of Las Vegas. How do you see the Tide sitting with him right now?
I think Alabama is in that top group, maybe even in the top 2, top 3 for Jett. There's a guy that visited Alabama last season for that Georgia game, and what an unbelievable atmosphere that was for him to see. And now he's coming back for the first time this year. Now, he's been pretty busy with his schedule. Football team won state championship. Then he went into basketball. So this is kind of his first time to get out, go out and see Alabama this year. So this is going to be a big visit, another big visit for Alabama as far as an out-of-state target. And they're not recruiting a ton of safeties in this cycle, and they still want to add 1 or 2, and Jett's been right at the top of their list since last season. I mean, this is a guy that they went out and saw play last fall, and he's really one of the only juniors that got a visit from the Alabama coaching staff during his regular season. So we'll see what happens this weekend. I know Oregon's a top school for him, USC. There's some other contenders that are out there. I expect him to set up an official visit with Alabama this weekend. So we'll see him back in Tuscaloosa at some point this summer. But Alabama is certainly excited to get him on campus. He told me the other night he's going to be arriving on Friday. So he's going to spend 2 days at Alabama. So I know the Alabama coaching staff is really excited to get him back in town.
Yeah, it sounds like it should be a productive weekend for Jett Washington. Now, what other big names are we anticipating being on campus this weekend?
Well, I think looking at in-state, you got 2 big in-state guys that are going to be on campus. Xavier Kroll, the number 2 running back in the country out of Jackson High School in Alabama. It's going to be his 3rd visit to Alabama this year, 2nd trip to Tuscaloosa in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Definitely one of Alabama's premier targets in this recruiting class. Alabama only signed 1 running back last year. Running back's a big position for them in this class, so they're going to have him on campus. Another running back, Jonas Walton from Georgia Central High School in Carrollton, also going to be on campus. But one other in-state guy that's pretty intriguing is Jaquez Wilkes out of Wadley High School, 6'4", 220 pounds, plays on both sides of the football. And this is a kid that ran for over 300 yards during the state championship game and had over 8 tackles and 1 interception in the game as well. So just a tremendous athlete. This is going to be his first time visiting Alabama at all. But he's an in-state kid that Alabama really likes. And one other out-of-state guy that we're keeping a very close eye on is Sincere Johnson out of Ohio. This is a guy that received an offer back in January, attended Alabama's junior day on February the 1st. Might come down to an Alabama-Ohio State battle. We kind of saw that last year with Justin Hill, who came down from Ohio, attended Alabama's 8A game, ultimately signed with the Crimson Tide. But Sincere is a kid that has family in Alabama, but grew up an Ohio State fan. So we're gonna see kind of I think, in my opinion, a head-to-head battle there. But there's some other schools involved. He's going to take summer official visits and go from there. But big for Alabama to get Sincere in Tuscaloosa again for the 8A weekend.
All right, so I know last year, the first full cycle under Kalen DeBoer, Alabama really turned it on during the summer. But with A-Day around the corner, do you have anyone on commit watch this weekend? It doesn't, it could be 2027 class or younger, but is there anybody you're watching? Inside Scoop listeners, I've got to tell you about Game Time. Now, here's the scenario. You've been rooting for a team your whole life, right? They finally have a good season. You want to go to the game with your friends and family, only to find out completely sold out. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down as the game gets closer to the kickoff. With killer last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of the Inside Scoop. Now, with summer approaching, there is nothing better than catching an afternoon baseball game. And Game Time has the best last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Game Time picks make last-minute ticket buying easier than ever by highlighting the best deals in the stadium. So here's what we're going to do. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code INSIDESCOOP for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, though, create an account, use redeem code INSIDESCOOP, INSIDESCOOP, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
I think with the 26 group, a lot of those guys have all of their summer official visit dates set. They want to get through the summer. And, we used to see a flurry of spring commitments back in the day because official visits didn't take place until late in the fall. And now, these kids can take all their summer official visits, make their decision before the start of their senior season. So I think we're kind of, waiting to see what happens. I'm not saying these guys are going to commit, but some guys that we are going to be watching pretty closely this weekend include Xavier Kroll, who could potentially make a decision early. He does have his 5 official visit dates set. He's going to take. He wants to take these visits. He plans on waiting until the season, but with his 3rd trip to Alabama this year, Alabama's been one of those schools that has really been at the top of his list from the get-go. That's a guy that we're going to keep a close eye on just in case. Another player, in-state player, Kamarion Johnson, out of Muscle Shoals, defensive lineman. He does have 4 official visits set for the summer right now, and also intends on waiting, but it's a guy that grew up an Alabama fan, has been to Tuscaloosa a few times this year already. So if there's some guys that we're watching, those are probably the ones that we're watching the closest right now, but could also still see them take those official visits into the summer and then make a decision.
All right. Well, it's not your traditional A-Day, but it will be an exciting time in Tuscaloosa this weekend. Bama fans, talk to us. Who is your most anticipated visitor this weekend? Let us know.